Cam says mentors. Those are so important. We need you got a good mentor. Brother Chuck.
Yeah, shout out to Chuck Hall.
Because Gordon needed that. Gordon needed that early in his marriage.
Why?
What Chuck brought to the table.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why was that important?
I didn't even. Well, I'll give us a summary because we'll be here all night if I get to babbling. So we visited a church that my brother and his wife were going to. Is visiting. And after the service, an older white guy, because the context of it is beautiful, came up to me and he said, hey, this might sound weird, but I really feel pressed in my spirit to invest time with you. I didn't know him at the time. And I'm like, that was weird. He didn't know prior to that, maybe 2 days prior to that, I was in my son's room bawling because I was missing my father. So if you know any of my backstory, I don't have my real father or my stepfather, the one that actually raised me. They're both deceased. And I didn't cry at the funerals, not because I was a tough guy, but it takes me a while to process emotionally. Mentally, I understood he's dead, he's gone.
But you were still grieving.
And I grieve in spots.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years here and one day hit me real hard. I was just in my son's room laying down because there's tools missing from my life toolbox. And I'm looking at my sons as my wife keeps having kids. Without my permission. No. And I'm like, man, because I really felt the weight of, you know, they say you can only lead someone as far as you've been led.
Right.
And sometimes I felt the weight of that. Like, I don't know what my dad would be doing right now. My son's graduating from elementary school. My dad never been to any of what do I do?
Yeah.
I was feeling the weight of that. So me crying like, God, I know you're my father, you know, and I know you comfort the fatherless. Then all of a sudden, 2 days later, this man's like, hey, can we have coffee? Just to talk and just
Nice.
to talk.
Nice.
I'm like, So I said recently at an event that was on before Father's Day, praise God for fathers and father figures. I think that's how God fills that void with mentors and father figures. This man came at a due season for me. For me, I was going to cry my tears, soak it back up, and keep it moving. God's like, nah, let me interrupt that unhealthy pattern of yours.
Nice.
And we went to Starbucks. And it's been a 10-plus year relationship since then.
Nice.
And his wife, you know, older saints, salt and pepper saints that walked a couple more miles than us and prayed a couple more prayers that were a model of marriage and longevity and Christ to us. Very necessary. And God provided the means for that because in my pride, I wouldn't have asked for it. In my tears, but in my pride, I'm not asking for no male figure. I was like, nah, you need me to be tangible to you, and I'm going to send someone your way. And so that's the story of Chuck.
Nice.
Yeah, so those mentors are key
Right.
in us learning, especially the fatherless, or even the ones that grew up with bad father figures.
Right.
Missing father figures, dead father figures at this point.
Yeah.
They're key. And God will send, because he knows what we need.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny how, it's not funny, but it's just crazy how he knew you needed that at that time.
That was weird.
And-
That was super weird to me.
And I always say, like, that connection that was made between you, Brother Chuck, and your wife and his wife, Marilyn, right? The fellowship and the mentorship and just everything that has happened and been fruitful because of that relationship. I've eaten the crumbs that fall from the table of y'all fellowship. And I've learned so much, thank God, because of you being in my life as a big brother along the way. Like, I mean, you know, from a very young age, and when I came along, when you met me, I was like 20. I had a really bad view on women, and how a man should be in control, be in leadership.
Wayne was a caveman with it.
You
don't get my dinner when I walk in the door. And I just Look at God, as they would say.
That was I went from a caveman to the cage stage. And then Lord willing get to that sage stage. But really thank God that he's shown me this stuff, and he showed me a lot of it before I got married, thank God, because for real I'd have been in a really bad position had I not been shown those things before.
Yeah, I like what Paul says. You have many teachers, but you don't have many fathers. You know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we need fathers in the church.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's a distinction there between the teacher and the father. You know.
Right.
And I think that's
Absolutely.
important. Like, people have thought in terms of a classroom type of discipleship or appointments being, not that those aren't, you know, I make appointments with people because I have to schedule things,
Right.
but you should have an open door policy to your life.
Ooh.
You know, and be accessible, be vulnerable as a father.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable in a productive way in my family.
Yeah. Open door policies was not a popular thing until maybe 15 years ago.
Right.
Like the new millennium brought in that open door policy because
Yeah. Right.
for a long time there, you didn't have that open door policy with your parents.
That's true. The old school Puerto Ricans did, though.
Oh, okay.
Back in PR.
See,
you know,
yeah.
because you didn't have a choice. Some of us didn't have doors. You know what I'm saying?
right,
People
right.
just came into the crib and be like, yo, you got some coffee? What's going on?
Some Bustelo.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
There's actually some health to that, because it breaks up the monotony of structure and having appointments. You need to be accessible, man.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
life needs to be accessible to people. That's how you can father people well. You know, just like, hey, you're my son. Here's a key to my house type thing.
Right.
You know, you can't do that with everybody.
No.
But
no.
discipleship, you know, when you're serious about like a relationship you're
Yeah.
talking about, you should have that access to people.
Right.
You know.